Welcome back to the Strong Opinion Hibs podcast. As always, I'm Jack, and today I'm joined by Charlie. How are you, Charlie?
I'm all right, mate. Yourself?
I am fine, apart from the Hibs score, but what are you going to do? Fair play to David Gray's first game in charge unbeaten, so I'll still be singing the David Gray song. And we're joined by a very, very special guest on the podcast today. We're joined by Hibs Women's star striker, Eilidh Adams. How are you, Eilidh?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
No worries at all. So I'll pass you over to Charlie, first of all, to ask some questions to sort of get to know you as a player, and obviously you're a Hibs fan, so get some of your views on Hibs as well.
Aye, so usually when we bring someone on, we like to chat to them and see, first of all, like what got you into football?
Do you know, there wasn't kind of anyone in my family that really influenced me massively. I think it was obviously I used to go and watch the games at I still do, but when I was younger I used to watch the games with my dad and my sister at Easter Road, and I think watching it kind of influenced me. I wanted to do it myself, so I remember I joined my local club, which was Barmere Thistle, and I just absolutely loved it, and people could see that I had potential from the get-go. So yeah, it was wasn't really, I mean, I've been kicking a ball since I was really young, but as I say, there's no one in the family that really influenced me. But yeah, we are a sporty family, and my dad, I think my dad's happy that I've chosen football, but yeah, it was just kind of seeing the game and watching the game. So yeah.
Class. Eilidh, what's it like playing football at such a top level at such a young age?
It's amazing. It's amazing that I'm getting the opportunity to do it. I've progressed so much since I started training with Hibernian Women and then becoming part of the squad. So yeah, it's so good for me. And there's times where it's tough, and you know, obviously you're not the best player there. But that's only a good thing, and I can just feel myself developing every training session. And I'm also, the girls are so good, they give me so much support. And I think especially last season with quite a thin squad, it was a lot of sometimes pressure when you know you're maybe the only striker. So, and you're not scoring goals, you go through a run where you're not scoring goals and you kind of put the blame on yourself. But yeah, the squad was amazing at, you know, helping me through that, I guess. And yeah, but it's amazing. I wouldn't change it for anything.
That's really good. And obviously you mentioned that you're a Hibs fan, so what made you fall in love with Hibs as a young girl?
Well, my dad grew up a Hibs fan, so he got me a season ticket, and I can't remember when my first game was, but must have been about 8 or something. So it was me and my sister as well. We both went with my dad along to the games. And yeah, we just kind of, every year we've got a new season ticket because we both love it. My sister's now away at uni, so it's just me and my dad. But yeah, it just was something we did every second Saturday, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah.
Class. Have you ever been like recognised in the stands?
No, not yet. I wasn't sure if after maybe the Hearts game at Easter Road that might be, but no, not yet.
So Eilidh, who's your favourite player, Hibs player of all time?
I'd probably say one that stands out growing up with Lee Griffiths, just because he was a big goal scorer, and obviously I'm a striker, and maybe just now he's not quite where he used to be, but he stands out for me, especially the Scottish Cup semi-final against Falkirk in 2013. That was his goal, obviously his goal, and then obviously he scored against England twice as free kicks in the national team. So I think probably he would stand out for me. But obviously there was Gary O'Connor and stuff as well. All kind of same team goal scorers. But yeah, I remember watching Lee Griffiths.
Are they like players that you try and model your own game off, or?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, obviously kind of each striker's got their own game, but definitely in terms of the amount of goals they score and the positions they have to get into to score those goals, it's definitely something that I want to improve in my game. So being able to watch them and their movement is definitely something that I look up to.
Nice. So Eilidh, what's it like playing for your boyhood team? I'll go with
that. Yeah, I mean, it's extremely special for me. As I say, I used to be at Barmere, and then when I was 13 I joined Hibs, and it was so exciting, obviously being younger and knowing that I was going to play for the club that I support and I've supported all my life. And nothing changes every time I pull on that jersey. It's just such a special feeling, especially with number 9 and Adams on the back. It's just you can't really beat it, to be honest. And games like the Hearts game at Easter Road, that genuinely was the best feeling of my life. So yeah.
Yeah, apart from that, Eilidh, obviously the scoring in the derby, do you have any other standout memories playing for Hibs?
I mean, I don't know, that's tough. I was on the bench for the Scottish Cup final against Glasgow City, and obviously I never got on the pitch, but for me, I was only 16 and it was just a brilliant experience for me. Obviously with the crowd there, and it was such a good game. So that's probably another one that stands out. And then also obviously making my debut. So yeah, I'd probably say those three were the biggest.
Nice. And just one question that came from one of our listeners on Twitter, Graham Souter, asks, Eilidh, which sports person did you look up to most when you were growing up, and why? Could be another sport other than football, or could be a footballer.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually know Graham because he used to be my tennis coach when I was younger. So yeah, I know him. But I'd probably say on the pitch, well, it'd probably be someone like Lee Griffiths again. And then maybe women's, it'd be someone like Kim Little, who's just a massive name in the game. And when I was younger and used to go along and watch the women's national team, she was just, a brilliant player, still is a brilliant player, and one that you wanted to be like her. So probably, and then off the pitch, someone like Andy Murray, who I remember watching the Wimbledon final. I was in Spain on holiday, and just all that he's achieved, but also what he's been through in terms of injury and what he's had to overcome. So I definitely say probably he, off the pitch, he's a massive role model.
Amazing. So I'm just going to pass you over to Jack, and he's going to delve into a wee bit more of the Hibs side of things.
Yep, so I think those are some good choices for your favourite players as well. I've got this, especially Gary O'Connor. So my first question I want to ask you on the Hibs side of things is, obviously you made the step up from the academy to first team football in 2019. What was that like, getting that chance in the first team coming up from the academy?
I think so. I started training with them like once a week, and then kind of built that up gradually. So yeah, it was very nerve-wracking. I remember before every training session I was nervous, but it was a big transition as well in terms of the level of training, the intensity, and obviously the players I was training with, obviously some of them have left now, but like Jamie Lee Napier, people like that. As I say, it's so good for me. It was so good for me, but it did take a while to adjust, I think, and I really enjoyed it. I still do. So yeah, it was hard, but it was a challenge that I really enjoyed. So yeah,
definitely. And when you look at some of the players that have come through the system at Hibs, like Claire Emsley, Caroline Meir, and obviously you mentioned Kim Little, is that something that you want to go on that journey? So academy, Hibs, and then playing in the WSL or abroad, is that a journey you'd want to go on yourself?
Yeah, definitely. That's my main goal, I'd say, as well as obviously the national team. So yeah, they're definitely people that, and I've seen what they've achieved, and that's what I want to do myself. So obviously just now I'm really happy where I am, but yeah, in the near, hopefully future, that's what I can do, either WSL or somewhere like Germany, because I mean it's such an exciting time to be part of the women's game, I think, and it's constantly improving, constantly the quality's getting better, there's more publicity, and so it's only going to keep getting better. So yeah, it's such an exciting time to be part of it. But yeah, that's definitely something that I want to achieve myself.
Oh, that's good to hear. And if you are going to go to Germany, sign for Turbina Potsdam, because then I can play for both of my teams. Okay. So my next question for you is, how did your experiences at the academy help you transition into the first team?
I think it made it a lot smoother, kind of, because as I say, I was kind of training with the first team once a week and playing with, training with the 19s, whatever, 23s the rest of the time. So I think it was good gradually getting kind of brought into the squad rather than straight away. It's one like going from 23s to the first team, because it's a massive step up. So I think, yeah, the opportunities that I was given, and I still am given, by the academy have helped me so much, and brought me on so much as a player. So yeah, I'm really thankful for all of that.
when you compare the sort of academy system at club football to the age group system in the national team, obviously you're impressing with the national team at youth level. You scored against Ukraine, not long ago in Euro qualifiers. So is it more difficult in the national team age setup, or is it about the same as at the Hibs Academy?
It's more difficult, I'd say, in national team going to play countries, especially when we played the Netherlands in our last game in the 19s recently. That was a real eye-opener. People that are the same age as you, but just that step up in terms of quality, everything they do. And it's, I just thought it was, I think everyone would agree in the squad that it was a real eye-opener, as I say. Kind of maybe the difference in level, but I'd say in terms of playing women's football, so the SWPL 1 to then kind of go into play 19's national team, I think it definitely helps playing in the women's game in terms of the physicality, because maybe it's not so much of a shock when you go to play these other countries. Well, that's what I feel anyway, coming up against centre backs in our league compared to maybe going and playing other national teams. It's definitely, I'd say, slightly easier in terms of the physical side of it. Obviously, technically, they're also really good, but I think it is definitely helpful playing with the women's players that are older, bigger, stronger. Because when you go away to play with the national team, it does make it slightly easier, I would say.
That's really interesting, because I've heard a lot from like other players like Lauren Davidson. She said that as well, because obviously she's quite young for going into the full national team, the senior national team. So it's really interesting to hear that. So next question for you is, at 17, you've already made quite the impression on the fans and on football in general. So what are your ambitions for the rest of the season?
I think, as well, individually, I want to probably try and get slightly more game time. I mean, last year was quite a big, that was quite extreme in terms of the amount I was getting. It's like such a young age. But this year, I think, obviously, with more players coming in, it's more competitive within the squad, which is a good thing. But I definitely want to try and get more game time, or even when I'm playing, try and maybe make a bit more of an impact in terms of scoring goals and stuff. Then as a team, it's just about trying to win as many games as we can. Obviously, we've only got one more before the break, but it's trying to take as much as we can from every game. Because I think we just sometimes don't show the quality we have in games. Like, we're doing really well in training, and then we come into the game and maybe it's not quite there. So I think as a squad we definitely want to not be dropping points against teams that we know we shouldn't be. So trying to get maximum points from those kind of games.
I completely agree. So you've scored your first SWPL goal against capital rival Spartans in 2020. What were your thoughts after that goal, and what were your feelings? Obviously, Spartans, it's a big game for us, and scoring against them at Ainsley Park, that must have been quite the feeling.
Yeah, it was. I know the rivalry that kind of goes on with the two Edinburgh clubs, but to be honest, I didn't know much about it. But it was still an amazing feeling. I don't really care how they go in, as long as they go in. But it was. I remember just in the car on the way home, it was just such a great feeling. And it was a really good start to the season, I guess, and gave me a kind of confidence boost to take into the rest of the season.
I remember watching that on, because obviously it was during lockdown, so I was watching it on the iPad. It was just going mental. I was like, because I'd never heard your name before the game, and I was like, well done. It was great to see. I think it was good to see Rosie Livingston do that as well. So
definitely.
Obviously something I want to ask about is, you went on a similar journey to Rosie. How good is it to see a player like Rosie develop as well? Is that good for you to see that, knowing that you've been on that sort of journey yourself? Yeah, no, it's really good. I think Rosie trains with us, so it's nice to have someone else similar, like to my age, to kind of relate to. And as you say, we've kind of gone through a similar journey, and she's been involved with the 17s national squad, and she's an amazing player, and she'll definitely go far in the game, I think. But I think it's good to see her coming through, and obviously have, as I say, someone that's a similar age to me, because sometimes it can be quite hard when I'm with people that are like quite a bit older than me. It's really good to have Rosie at training, and as I say, she's a really good player that I think will go far in the game. definitely. Rosie does have a big future. She really does, and a really impressive young player. So next question for you, and this is the most important question of the podcast, I think, is what was it like scoring against Hearts under the lights at Easter Road in the reverse derby? You know, that must have been absolutely fantastic as a Hibs fan. You've done it, what we've all wanted to do it, score under the lights at Easter Road against Hearts. So that must have been absolutely amazing for you.
Yeah, it was, as I said, it was such a special feeling. I think I've watched the video back too many times. I think I just want to, at the time I maybe didn't take it in as much as I should have. But as it's like, you go and watch the games at Easter Road, growing up under the lights on a Wednesday night or whatever, and you see the big games and you want to do that too. So to be able to come off the bench and make such a big impact, yeah, as I say, it was just a completely unbeatable feeling. And to do it with the record crowds and such great support just made it even better. So yeah, it was as good as it probably looked.
Yeah, no, it was amazing sitting in the hospitality watching that. That was, and the ball from Smalley was brilliant as well. That was an excellent ball.
Kind of, obviously I set one up for her, so she's done it back to me. I couldn't miss. So yeah.
That was good for you to return the favour as well. So we'll move on to our next question, which is what are the sort of feelings in the camp heading into the next game? Obviously, Hearts have improved quite a lot under their new coach. Have become quite a formidable side. You don't really know what form of Hearts are going to show up. So what are the feelings in and around the team now?
Yeah, I think we've been working hard in training on areas of the game that have maybe let us down sometimes before. So the final third. But we know that Hearts are they're hard to break down. And as you say, we've seen that they're stepping up in terms of their training. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be an easy game, but there's a good feeling within the squad. We had training this morning and it's really good. The mood's great. And I think everyone's really excited for another big game. But yeah, we're going into the game to take 3 points and we won't accept anything less than that.
Yeah, that's good to hear. What were your thoughts and what was the rest of the players' thoughts when you found out that Hearts were returning the favour and playing the game at Tynecastle? That must have been quite good. Obviously, Tynecastle's a good stadium to play at, and obviously we've got some fond memories from Tynecastle over the years as Hibs fans, especially a certain game on New Year's Day 1973. So what were the feelings when you found out it was going to be played at Tynecastle?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously, for just like the women's game in general, I think it needs to be happening more often in terms of playing in these big stadiums rather than just once every so often. I think if it becomes more of a continuous thing and common thing, then that'll definitely help grow the women's game. And I've seen a lot of stuff like the publicity for it. So hopefully, yeah, it'll be another really good experience. As I say, I was there for the Scottish Cup final against Glasgow City, but I never actually played. So yeah, I know it's another great stadium to be playing at, but it'll be great to try and beat our rivals at their home. So yeah, everyone's really looking forward to it.
No, that's good to hear. And I think I completely agree with you that it's good that we see these the games being played in big stadiums, because obviously the Old Firm haven't done it yet. I'd like to see an Old Firm getting played at Parkhead or Ibrox, a women's Old Firm as well. So I'm glad that the Edinburgh rivalry has come to that first, because I think the Edinburgh Derby, in my opinion, is the better derby as well. So it's good to see that. So we'll move on to our final question for today, and I think this is quite an important one as well. What is your message to any fans that haven't secured their free tickets for Tynecastle yet?
To come along and support. I think, as you say, it's free tickets. I mean, just as much support we can get, the better. And we'll do our best to put on a good performance. But I think, yeah, definitely it'll be a good game, and secure your tickets, because as you say, they're free, and it'll be brilliant for the women's game if we can get even more supporters. So yeah, definitely get your tickets now.
I've got to echo that. I'd just like to remind everybody that they're available for delivery or collection from the ticket office, and we've got our own end, so you don't need to sit with Jambos if you don't want to. You can sit in the Roseburn stand with myself and Calvin are going to be there representing the podcast. So that concludes our interview with Eilidh. It was absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Eilidh, for taking your time out to speak to us today.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed that. Yeah. And thank you also for, I was just going to say, everything that you do for Hibs Women and the women's game. So it doesn't go unnoticed, and it's really appreciated. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you. So that concludes this week's episode.